Greetings, and welcome. Magebit here. Bet you didn't expect to hear me anytime soon. I hope you're doing well. Holy crap, this has been a long year, not gonna lie. Only 3 months left, and I think I put out, a total of maybe 3 or 4 shows this year. In times of distress, my ability to cope with reality tends to go down. And it takes more energy for me to do everyday things when there's no motivation or hope left. So it's been very hard for me to produce the things that I want to produce. It's also caused a lot of mental anguish in my own community. I think this pandemic has really brought out the worst in humanity. They say that humanity would unite under an existential threat, but here we are, and yet I see humanity doing everything in its power to pretty much silence the scientists. At least in my country, I can only speak from a United States American standpoint, because I don't live anywhere else. I see what's going on around the world, and sometimes I'm envious of other countries, but other times I wonder why nobody intervenes, and I think to myself, maybe intervening in other people's problems is a uniquely American thing. But I know that's not necessarily true either, so the whole thing just feels very broken and very hopeless. So reaching down inside of me to find that place where I create things has been pretty much null. It's been empty. It really hasn't existed. It's been like trying to reach down into a bag that has an empty bottom and just grabbing through the hole at nothing and trying to, pull lunch out of that or something. Like, I just can't do it. You can't do it. Nobody can do it. But at the same time, I look at all my other podcasts that I listen to and I see barely any slowdown in most of them. A few of them have stopped altogether, but most of them are going perfectly strong. And I think to myself, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? How am I so paralyzed and everyone else around me seems to just continue on with their normal lives? And yeah, that obviously upsets me. But I'm not everybody else, unfortunately. The type of mind that I have requires a certain level of, freedom and peace to freely create and feel safe to freely create. And right now, I feel like my freedoms have been at risk, and it just makes it hard for me to focus on anything else. And I know that pisses off a lot of people because, I've been podcasting RuneScape for a decade now, and all of a sudden, all I want to talk about is politics. And I've always been a political person. I've just kept it out of my, my work. But keeping it out of my work has done nothing but drive me nuts. It's actually the reason why there wasn't any shows for so long, because I couldn't stand to do a show knowing that my main co-host that everybody loves, including me, was a racist piece of shit. And not only that, but held far-right viewpoints that just inexplicably have no backing in science or reality. And I think to myself, what happened? Was this person always this way? Did they become this way over time? Like, what? I just don't remember. How did that sneak up on me? And did I let it sneak up on me? Was I the one who was willing to accept and put aside those parts of people? And why was I forced to stop? What made me stop doing what I love to do just because the person that I was doing it with basically low-key did not agree with my existence? Like, that was a little hard for me to swallow. And we joked about it a lot on the show, I think. But when it became real, when we actually started having troops in our streets, gassing our own citizens, beating them, shooting them, things changed. Like, I couldn't joke about it anymore because it was too real. And I began to see in my own friends what I saw in the repressors of this nation, of the United States. And I couldn't separate those two things anymore. And it was, painful, because at the same time, I had a deep relationship, a camaraderie, a brotherhood, if you will, with this individual, and multiple individuals I've had to let go over the years. But I gave so many chances to expecting change from people embroiled in deep far-right lifestyles, expecting them to just find their way and change, which on my part, huge mistake. Massive mistake. You can't expect people like that to just change. It's not going to happen. Something has to happen to them. Because if something doesn't happen to them that changes their life in a way, and then at that same time they receive a message that's progressive, then I think someone like that might be open to change. But a lot of the time it just sends them further down their own rabbit hole, because it just, when they come across more misfortune, it just validates their own conspiracies that the world is specifically, out to get them, or there's some organization that is secretly controlling their destiny, and when in reality it's the same for everybody. We all have the same common enemy, and we can't unite against them because they constantly create schisms within our own society. When you can make poor people of all types fight against each other and convince the middle class that they have a shot at being millionaires, then you've really got the perfect ruse going on, frankly. And it has completely destroyed this country and a lot of nations that worship the United States and would follow it off a cliff. In Australia, unfortunately, is one of those countries that, idolizes the United States' deep conservative values as if they're a good thing. And it breaks my heart to know that Australia, despite being viciously conservative, has a good youth movement, a good progressive youth movement. Shoutouts to Extinction Rebellion, but at the same time, there's so many inroads for them to defeat that by the time they make any headway, it'll be too late. It'll be far too late. And Australia is in a location that is going to feel the effects of global warming far before a lot of other places. The places that are basically immune for the next 50 years, so this conservative generation can get theirs and pass away and not have to deal with the, terminal mess that will be left behind for, Generation Z and if they have any sense they won't bring up children, but for their children as well, because humans like to fuck. And it just breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. Knowing that there's pretty much nothing we can do at this point except literally yell and scream. And again, this is why I struggle to produce anything at all. Whether it be a simple audio blog or an episode of Runescape Weekly, or, you know, I've tried multiple pilots for different shows in the past couple of years, and I just can't make them stick. Not because the co-hosts aren't interesting, or the topics aren't intriguing, or the banter is boring. No, it's because my willpower is through the effing floor. But, you know, I'm coming to a place where that's changing ever so slowly. I have been incorporating a lot of Amazonian medicines into my lifestyle lately. Again, something a conservative would lose their shit over and probably call me a drug addict or something. But these medicines are rebalancing my energies and allowing me to focus again and put my thoughts into words where they belong. And on paper even, I finished an article and I posted it to Medium, posted it to magebit.me as well if you want to check it out there. It's called 5.5 Grams of Freedom, and it's just an article on straight up just eating mushrooms, just eating them shrooms, because if you know anything about magic mushrooms, you know that 5 grams is what they call a heroic dose. It's what you take when you want to go on a real journey, do some shadow work, figure out your demons and whatnot. So, you know, if you're interested in checking out that article, magebit.me, it's over there. I haven't written literally anything in years. And this is finally an article that I put together with very little, I think, grammatical problems and whatnot. Like, it just kind of flowed right out. It was nice. I was proud of myself for doing it and following through and completing it, because it's not crazy long, but it's a good 3-minute read, I'd say. You know, you'd have it done with a cup of coffee. Do people take longer than 3 minutes to drink a cup of coffee? Am I abnormal? I don't know. Anyway, what else has been going on? My grandmother is obviously not going to improve. She's in late stage Alzheimer's. My aunt literally risked our entire household's health by flying from Seattle, Washington, here, across the country, 4,000 miles on a plane to see my grandmother one last time. Nice gesture, right? You know, it's still a beautiful thing, but at the same time, you know, it really could have been the last time if you brought COVID with you, and it could have been the last time you did anything if you brought COVID with you. You never know what can happen. So I was not happy about that, but I let it fly, because what am I gonna do? You know, I don't have any control over the situation. So I hid in my room. I didn't leave. I was like, you can deal with it. I'm gonna be over here. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't touch my stuff. Don't use my bathroom. No. I let her use the bathroom. We have a germicidal light in the bathroom, so I just burn out everything in the bathroom when someone's been in there. Mainly because my grandmother is gross and doesn't understand hygiene anymore. So it's like anything she touches, you just want to blast with a germicidal, you know, light bulb. Anyway, what else has been going on? I think that, oh yeah, I ordered a new mask. But now I'm wondering, am I going to have trouble, because everyone's like, you have to wear this kind of mask, you're not allowed in. So it's a germicidal light mask. It has a germicidal light built into it at the frequency that doesn't emit ozone, thankfully, because that would be poisonous. But it uses a very fine frequency of light. It's a beautiful frequency, in fact. Fine as in, like, thin wavelength, not as in, like, it was a perfect phone call. It's perfect wavelength. It kills all bacteria. It's perfect. No one's ever seen anything like it before. So I mean, hey Trumpers, you know, like, we're using germicidal light. What are you gonna say about that? That's why I feel like if I had to explain that to somebody at the door, be like, no, there's light inside of here that destroys bacteria, and it is a double filter, so my air that it pumps back out is also filtered again. And they'll be like, all right, would you buy it from Q's website or something? No. It's a really cool technology. If anyone wants to check it out, it's by Laboratories, and basically they have this little device inside of pretty much it looks like a normal oxygen mask that you put over your face, right? But instead, the vents are connected to an FP 95 or 99 filter, depending on what you want. The filters are obviously interchangeable, so I bought a bunch of both, depending on where I'm going. It's like, because anyway, so you have your first line of defense, 95% or 99%, filter. Then once the air has gone through that, it goes through a spiral tube, and inside that tube is an array of light, and that light is at the black light frequency, the germicidal frequency. So as the air that's already been filtered passes through that vortex, it spins around and gets blasted by germicidal light, and then reaches your sweet lips. You inhale it, and it's just perfect air. It's the best air you could ever want, ever need. Nothing's better. I got it while they were still in the conceptual stage. They don't ship until the end of October. Yes, I bought into a Kickstarter. Leave me alone. I'm desperate to go outside and feel safe, and this technology actually looks legit. So that's that. I look forward to arguing with people about whether I can or can't enter because my mask is or isn't up to standards. Anyway. That's where I'm at in my life. Just trying to survive. Everyone's like, I can't wait for 2020 to be over. Like, when 2020 ends, it's not like a switch or a level. It's not like, oh, level 2. No. Like, our time is a fucking river. It is a meandering river. This shit isn't gonna end January 1st. And that pisses me off so bad. Anyway, I would have to say that no matter what, my goal is to return to producing shows like ASAP. I know that is so much easier said than done, but I've been getting mentally stronger thanks to the medicines that I've been taking. Right before the show, I tried some rape, depending on how you want to say it. I bought 2 different kinds. It comes from Brazil, which happens to be where my stepfather has been trapped since the beginning of this pandemic. He took a little trip to see his family, never to be seen again. No, we still talk to him. But, he's just in the jungle. And I've been taking this opportunity to incorporate a lot of jungle medicine. So it's like, I hope he is learning something from the jungle as I am learning from the jungle right now. We all should be trying to protect the jungle because that is where our medicine comes from. Yet we let these pillagers just cut it down and destroy it in the name of science. But it's not. It's in the name of colonialism. It's in the name of white supremacy. These people steal from these countries and leave them gutted. People call Africa a developing nation. It's a gutted nation, not a developing nation. First World has destroyed that continent for its resources, and they'll do the same to Brazil. They'll do the same to South America. Now that they've sucked Africa dry, they got their sights set on South America. If you're gonna take medicine from the jungle, you make sure it's sustainable. You buy from tribes. I've got bark on the way that contains the elusive spirit molecule, and I plan on having an experience with that, and sometime this month, maybe probably by the end of the month. It takes a while to produce, and I'm not a real chemist, so it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a little DIY project, but I'll probably have another article to write after I experience that. I hear it's the closest thing you can experience to death. So if you're interested in a near-death experience, this is the stuff. Some people need to experience death to feel alive. That's, I think, what a lot of neurotypical people don't understand. There's a lot of neurodivergent people, their brains operate in a way where reality often doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like anything. Sometimes it feels too real. But oftentimes, due to trauma, neurons just don't fire anymore. You're just so desensitized, or they fire at the complete wrong times because they're conditioned to do so. They're conditioned for something. Conditioned for a response that they're going to receive, something negative generally. So, I totally just lost my train of thought. I need to stop looking at Facebook. That's one of my problems. That's another act. When I say it's another one of my problems, it is another one of my massive problems. I have a new comment here. This is from Saturday. So, I posted a while ago. I know I'm just jumping around here, but I'll finish my last thought, I guess, first. Is Facebook consumes me, and I want it to stop, but I can't. And I say that because it's been my source of re-education, which sounds horrible. Like, when I say that, it sounds horrible, but you have to understand the American education system offers no mercy when it comes to American history. You want American history, you really need to learn it from Europe or South America, because we sugarcoat it and hide our real history. So on Facebook, there are tons of people willing to post actual United States history. So I'm just like appalled at what we've done in the past, and appalled at people who can pretend that this is not our nation. Like, we're not racist. This is not who we are. We had a black president. I will literally punch you in the fucking nose if you think like that in or around me. And this is why I don't leave my house anymore. Like, I need to come to a place where I don't want to punch people in the nose for shit like that. But it's like, when you have thoughts like that, you put my life at risk. You put other people's lives at risk that are not white passing. You know, at the very least, to the unscrupulous eye, I am white. But to a true white supremacist, I'm just a dirty spick. You know? So, listen. And think about the things that are in your head. Because they can affect other people whether you think so or not. You know, it's like I'm sitting here looking at these pictures. There's literally a family of white people sitting in this old Packard, and they have written on their door, bounty, $200 a dozen for the N-word ears. Like, this is a real thing. Like, these people existed, and like, we are zero apologetic. There's no apology for that culture that existed en masse. You know? Like, that's what I don't understand. You know? It's like, I scroll through my own bullshit now. I just scroll through everything that I've kind of saved for myself and wonder, like, how we got away with this. I just don't get it. It breaks my heart. And again, it brings me back to the fact that I have changed a lot in the past 6 years, 7 years. I mean, since 2013, when I had a mental breakdown for like the third time, but was like an actual adult now, and had to be in like the adult wards and whatnot. That completely shifted my perspective on reality. Completely shifted my understanding of society and how we treat people that we deem unproductive and damaged. We warehouse them, we treat them as if they are of a second or third class, and there's very little people willing to help. And the people that are in the positions of quote-unquote help are often there for their own gratuities. They often are malicious, enjoy controlling people, or just straight up think it could be an easy job if they ignore people and sit there and just chill on the computer or something. Like, it's very hard to find real help unless you are shelling out some serious cash. And most people do not have those serious cashes. So that was just a major life-shifting perspective. I went from literally a libertarian, made a fucking hard jump left over to democratic socialist. And that was like a massive just mind frame shift for me when I realized I needed other people to function in this society without having literal mental breakdowns. Just had to do it. People need each other. We are social creatures. And the more neurodivergent creative types need a community even more, because that is how we operate. We thrive and are inspired off of each other. And I think humanity, is, especially the Western culture, is trying to throw that away in favor of corporate control. You know, it's like you are more valuable, burnt out, working 40 hours a week, doing busy work half the time to a company, than working efficiently for 20 hours a week. Because they can control you if you are there the whole time. This corporate culture is slavery. The working class has become a class of indentured servitude, because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not prospering. You're not building equity. You are not progressing. You are treading water. You can only tread water for so long until you drown. And if you haven't had to have an experience like this in your life, it is extremely difficult, I think, especially for people of privilege, to come to a more understanding perspective where you need to take other people's wants and maladies into consideration as the bigger picture, instead of using a one-size-fits-all plan. You know, we need plans that are open to diversity and flexible to individuals that have actual, unique problems. My medical problems are not going to be the same as somebody else's medical problems. And if you try to shoehorn us both down the same conveyor belt, you're probably going to leave one of us behind, because you can't design a system that works for everybody when we have a literal rainbow of humans. Humanity is just as much a spectrum as so many other things are. Like, just the types and blends of human beings requires a creative solution, a holistic creative solution, not a one-size-fits-all. This medicine works all the time for everybody. Like, if you've ever been in the mental health field, you'll understand that a one-size-fits-all solution doesn't work, because one medicine, when one medicine gives somebody a positive reaction, it can make another person suicidal. That's just a very basic proof that we are all different and require unique attention, and we're not given it, especially in the medical system. And that is a failure of modern society, and also, I think, partially designed by capitalism. I don't think it is in business's best interests to cure people, to give them lasting solutions to their problems, even though it makes them more productive in the long term. It also shortens the amount of, how can I say this without sounding evil? But pretty much, medical industry is guised behind greed in this country, and there's no other way around it. Like, if you've ever even watched like House, like you can watch like Cuddy deciding like, does this person get this treatment or not? Like, why not? Everyone should get the treatment. That's such an old reference. I'm dating myself severely. I used to love House. That show made me a hypochondriac, but that was a great example of how broken the medical system is. You know, everyone should be treated equally, and yet people come in privileged and like, why don't I have the best doctor at all times? And other people come in and they're like dead in 5 seconds. Or they have to go to a panel to get approval for a simple procedure that should just be available. That's America. Other countries, I don't know how many other countries are like America. I don't know if there are any, to be honest with you. There might be somewhere out there, but I feel like I live in Bizarro world. I don't know if you've ever seen like C-Lab 2021, which is basically where we are. I just thought, like, we are. C-Lab is basically the real world at this point. People act like that. Like, if you've ever watched C-Lab from Adult Swim back in the day, you think about the characters and how they act. The average American is basically as intelligent now as a C-Lab 2021 character. And that breaks my effing heart, but at the same time, like, I feel like we've shifted into the Bizarro lands. This is just all wrong. And I know in reality, it's actually exactly how it's always been. It's just the loud part, the quiet parts are being said out loud now. And there's no way around that. You can't put the cat back in the bag, I think the old saying is. So now that the cat's out of the bag, how do we want to play this game? How do we want to play this, America? I don't know. But a lot of people seem to want to try to just sweep it back under the rug and pretend like there's no issues. And that is not okay. Now, my final topic before transitioning into some lighter topics that maybe have to do with gaming is just that I want to, again, shrink my following by simply saying that if you're thinking that voting for Joe Biden is going to solve anything, like, you are sadly mistaken. The Democratic Party is complicit in most of the Republican Party's damage, and by voting in another Democrat, another corporate Democrat that literally crushed the progressive movement in America, united in fascist solidarity and crushed the populist movement after a populist victory through the caucuses. A never before seen 3-state sweep popular victory. Never before seen in history. They were so scared that they convinced every other centrist to drop out and fall behind a demented old man. When we had a perfectly good old man that wanted nothing more than to just give us health care, relieve our student debt, and give us a work program. But no. We let them fall behind the candidate of big business, big pharma, and the crime bill. And then, to add insult to injury, they took a fake progressive and made him her running mate, their running mate. I get bad, confuse myself when I start to apply possessives to genders, so I apologize if I fucked that up. So then they put Kamala Harris, a fake progressive, an Elizabeth Warren progressive, maybe even worse, who hid evidence that could have exonerated a man on death row, put LGBT pre-transitioned people in with the wrong gender so they were murdered. I could go on, but why bother? Like, those two things should be disqualifying enough, but there's no qualifications for a vice president. We don't get to pick. We didn't even get to pick the fucking nominee. So if you're voting for Joe Biden, you're not helping anybody. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Trump. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump. The only way out of this is to show the system that we are sick and tired and aren't going to take any more bullshit and vote third party. I don't give a shit what party you vote for. We just need to see turnout that says fuck you to the major parties, and they are forced to change their message. And a new party emerges from the ashes, a party of the people. Check out A Party for the People. I think it's our only option. And honestly, I'm rooting for Nina Turner in 2020. I hope everyone can get behind that. How about a black female president? Wouldn't that tickle the liberals' nutsacks a little bit? Forget the message. Forget the fact that her message is fucking amazing and her policy's on board. She's a black woman, let's elect her! Like, I am so sick of identity politics. Get behind somebody for what they are saying. That's why I can literally call Joe Biden a shriveled up piece of shit. And even though so is, Bernie had a fucking heart attack. He's a shriveled up piece of shit, but he takes care of himself at least. Point being, Bernie's policy would have left a lasting legacy. What the fuck is Biden gonna leave us? On that message, why don't we transition ourselves over into some RuneScape news? I haven't talked about RuneScape in a long time. I'm gonna give the music about 30 seconds to just cleanse the palate, and then I'm gonna jump right in and talk about the latest updates in the game. So if you've made it this far and haven't unsubscribed, thank you so much for still being here and understanding why I've become a raving leftist lunatic. It's because my literal freedoms are at stake. Reactionaries exist on both sides, and they generally come due to fear. And I'll tell you what, I'm fucking scared. I love you all. Interlude there. That's not too jarring for anyone. Let me get my chair in place. Being a bitch on me. Alright. Oh, what time is it? It's 11:30. Funny thing. It's Sunday, so I have to pick up some cannabis. So real quick, I'm just going to log into the medical system here. Go to good old Sanctuary Medicinals over in Woburn. Could the Google button please work? Okay, but could the Google button please work? Never have I had this problem before. Probably because I've never done it in Chrome. Try this again. There we go. Disconnect was blocking it. So it's my fart coal. Well, I can talk. I love it when you fill your card on your phone on an account and then you go to the computer and it's just, no, it's not there. You didn't fill your card earlier. So I wanted to quickly just grab 3.5 grams of purple train wreck real quick, and then I was also going to grab a gram. How the fuck is it? There it is. Granddaddy Purple. Oh, it's already in my cart. See, now it's mad. Everything's magically appeared now. I hate this system. Alright, so there's the purple train wreck. Sorry, there. Get out of there. Alright, so I'm just going to reserve 4.5 grams. Then I'm going to buy another 3.5 grams with points while I'm there for like 15 bucks, which is a pretty good deal. Alright, so proceed to checkout here. 12:30 to 1:30. Cash pickup. Confirm reservation. Motorcycles. Verify. Right. Alright. So that's that. Let me get into the actual show now. You all know I can't survive without cannabis. So what we're gonna do is just talk about the most recent things here, because obviously I've been gone for quite some time and I don't know what the hell's going on. So let's take a look at this week in RuneScape. I see they've done my job for me. Maybe they're hoping I come back. They put it all in nice notes for me here. So it says here it's all quiet on the game's news front this week. Oh good, I picked a good week. In fact, it's almost too quiet. Like there's something mysterious waiting in the wings. Ooh, it gives us the chills. Keep your eyes peeled next week for the fresh and tasty Penguin Hide and Seek rework, along with an extra special surprise that will advance the story back on Anachronia. Intrigued? Tune in to this week's live streams, which I totally didn't do. There's a merch store update. I love pins now. It's one of my new things. I don't have a lot of them, but I do like them. They have a cool treasure hunter pin that you can get now. So that's cool. Also what do you call it? A Tetra Compass pin. If you want to be a total nerd. That's cool. Let's see here. I'll go back to the main page because it's not much of an update. Livestream Roundup? Do they like give me notes for it? Did you miss the live stream on August 26th? Damn straight I did. You can catch up on everything you missed right here, or alternatively head to the bottom of the post to watch the entire thing. No thank you. I'm just gonna read this and see what I missed. Once again, a few of our top developers appeared on the live stream to answer some burning questions from the community, including what the plans for Halloween are, what's going on with Elder God Wars Dungeon? No, that was happening. And whether any skills are going to be receiving a rework in the near future. What's the status on content that Jagex previously announced at RuneFest that hasn't come out yet, like Elder God Wars Dungeon? Elder God Wars Dungeon is a thing we've talked about, but it isn't something we're going to be delivering this year. We've done most of the design and planning for it, and the team is really excited. A lot of our releases for the rest of this year will be helping players explore lore and develop power through skilling. Much of these things are going to be interconnected leading up to the God Wars release. We're building a lot of lore around the Dragonkin, hence why we're going back to Anachronia. We've had to adjust our plans because of COVID. Who hasn't? We're shifting into a more monthly headline release, which started with the Alchemical Hydrix. We've just been reviewing the Orth and Dig site for archaeology, which is going to be our October release. We try and bring content to each of our player categories. We're going to do a skilling release around construction before the end of the year. It's not a rework, but I've zeroed in on a lot around that skill. Another key area, I'm actually really excited for that because I don't have the skilling pet for construction yet. Really want it. It's actually one of my favorites. So if this gives me a reason to go to construction where I can kind of play it a little less break your hand-ish, I will definitely do that. Another key area is questing, and we're committing to releasing a new quest by the end of 2020. Hey, it's something. I wish there was more quests, and then the quests they do release I end up not liking, so it's I can't win. It won't be the same size as Desperate Measures, but it'll be bigger than some of the content we've launched. That's quoting Mod Warden. That's relative to nothing, so I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt, but hopefully it's a... Honestly, I care more about the content of the quest than the length of the quest. It can be a short to medium quest, as long as it's fun. I just want a fun, intriguing quest. It doesn't have to be... Just basically don't do the slime quest again. Don't do anything like that ever again, in fact. What's the future for ninja strikes? Sounds like the ninjas have gone on strike. We've talked a lot about the quality of life changes. We're continuing to do that via the ninja strikes. We've shifted some resources around in order to satisfy that. A lot of the shuffle the players don't get to see is the restructuring going on behind the scenes. So the stuff that doesn't involve playing the game. What are the plans for Halloween this year? We've spoken about how much we want to embrace holiday events and seasonal content. Halloween is no different.
Our team is currently busy at work creating something. We want to do mini-quest style content as well as training or skilling. We tend to do one and done events, but people want to get those rewards and return to those areas. We want to do something you can go back to. So a Halloween event that's possibly permanent? I don't know. I don't have a problem with permanent content at all, for sure. I'm not that type of person to say, oh, it's off season. Why would you want a Halloween event hanging around off season? Just put it in an area that it fits in, and it's not a big deal. I think like Aggie or Maggie or whatever that's down in Draenor Village fits there because Draenor is a spooky area. Anyway, what's the latest status on the new Abyssal Demons? 3 models have been created and we're slowly making progress on them. 2 sets of animation are complete. We're only missing the environment and a bit of extra animation work. They're being worked on, but they're not top priority right now. It says Mod Shogun. Are there any plans to rework skills like woodcutting, fletching, construction, similar to mining and smithing? That's still an option for us in the future. Reworking mining and smithing was just north of the work it took to make a new skill. So it actually took more work than making a new skill. We always have to balance what we are remastering and reworking versus making something new like archaeology. What we can do is address some of the issues in the skills with updates. Like one we're doing for construction, and safe cracking is probably a good reference for the scale and style of the update we're doing for this. That's quoting Mod Osborne. I honestly have not done safe cracking, so I don't know what its scope is, but I know it spans the entire world and makes thieving a lot easier, if you're willing to put the intensive work into it. Will the rate at which quests are released increase in the future? Don't lie to us, Mod Osborne. I see this one's about... This is from Mod Osborne. He says, I know people put a lot of stock in how many quests we put out a year, but I'd rather have a great narrative told through solid quests with good momentum. I'm sorry, that's a horrible Mod Osborne impressive. Sorry, Dave. That's really what we want to do and plan to do. We have a strong story plan. We want all the content to reflect that, not just quests. A lot of upcoming content features in our story plan, and they're not necessarily quests. We just want to keep the narrative going. We just want to keep treading water. We don't want to release bread and actual meat. We just want to give our questers just enough so they don't starve and go play Elder Scrolls Online. That's what I read. Our more recent art is described by players as bulky and cartoony. What are our thoughts on this new approach and direction? This is from Mart Warden. They say, we've worked a lot on the stylistic aspect of our content. You see a lot of it, that anachrony and archaeology and so on. We're far from consistent, but it takes a lot of work to update those environments. The art style we're going for today is based off a lot of research and player testing. We've looked at a lot of different art styles. That's read at, not an A. We've looked at a lot of different art styles that led us up to this point. I'd like to continue looking at it and give the new art director a chance to evaluate what we have. I personally do not have a problem with anything except for the fact that I don't have a fucking pop filter. I don't have a problem with the art style. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. RuneScape should have a lighthearted feel to it. It should be fun. It should feel... It's not Diablo. I don't play RuneScape to play Diablo. Will invention get more tech trees added to the skill? Recently we found out Aviancies are skilled inventors, as well as gnomes and elves. It's been a while since the skill's release, and that part of it has not been touched. This is from Mod Osborne, and they say, there are so many tech trees we could include. Invention was such a fertile soil for doing something like that. And I'm going to stop right there and say, instead of giving more stuff to invention, I would argue add new things to archaeology. Like, we got a brand new skill here. Forget invention. In our view, this skill doesn't need work right now. That's why we're looking at construction and why we might look at agility in the near future. Double clap. I love agility. That's not to say we won't touch invention. It's getting some love in the next couple of months, but there's nothing in the tech tree, I'm afraid. Do you think we'll ever see the next region of the Eastern Lands, the Skull? Again, this is from Mod Osborne. They say, the Ark had a decent response and it's grown a cult following with the Uncharted Isles, so it could happen. But there are other areas of the game outside of land masses. Anachronia and Metaphos have pointed us more towards skilling or combat issues in the near future rather than bringing out landmass. We want to invigorate the core game rather than just strap more stuff onto it. Listen, I got nothing wrong with strap-ons, but I do agree with the overall concept of adding more to the core game rather than strapping on new stuff. And we just had a massive land update. Let's add meat and potatoes opposed to fluff. What was the rationale behind making the new essence of Finality repairable using an alchemical Hydrix instead of a regular Hydrix? Did Fortunate Components need more of a sink than they already have? This is from Mod Hooley, who says, keeping demand on Fortunate Components is always one of the aims, regards to any of the alchemical items. None of the new alchemical Hydrix items would have sunk Fortunate Components regularly if a normal Hydrix would have been required, and if it was just charged using Fortunate Components, then regular Hydrixes also would not have been sunk either. So this is kind of a way to mutually sync both sides of that. It's clever. I think that's fine. There's also a point that this is such a powerful piece of equipment that it should have a slightly higher upkeep cost than perhaps would have been expected. There isn't much room for PVM equipment in the necklace slot, if any, after this release, and therefore it warrants such an upkeep. We did listen to feedback about the original upkeep cost and did reduce it before release. We will continue to monitor it going forward, but it is unlikely that we will go back to using regular Hydrixes to repair the essence of Finality. There you go. That is your live stream roundup for the 26th of August. Welcome back to September. There's really nothing for September, sorry. But I will talk about the new Effigy Incubator, because that's new content that's actually, I believe, coming out next week. I could be wrong about that. Let's find out. Let me read the article so I can actually catch my tongue here. This article was released on Runescape.com on the 8th of September, and it says, did you catch the live stream? Stop asking me that. You're making me feel guilty. You're making me feel like a failure host. I can't do my job. You know, the one where we announced the all singing, all dancing new monthly D&D where you can get to create your very own effigies. If you missed it, then now's your chance to catch up. And if you tuned in, well, you did. So let's read on. It took desperate measures to save the world from Carapac's meddling, but recent discoveries on the island of Anachronia suggest that there's more to his experiments than dark anima and destruction. Some of the Anachronia base camp staff have had a mysterious but perhaps somewhat familiar figure lurking in the hills. Mr. Mordot wants you to use your adventuring expertise to investigate. You'll need at least 85 in either crafting, rune crafting, invention, or smithing to uncover the truth of the matter, but the rewards are well worth it. Once you've solved the mystery, you'll gain access to a whole new area of Carapac's lab where you can repurpose ancient dragonkin technology for your own gain. Do you have the skill and the knowledge required to tame the Effigy Incubator? Well, let's read on a bit here. The Effigy Incubator is a brand new monthly distraction and diversion that takes place in a secret lab in Anachronia. With your trusty assistant's help, you'll use a variety of materials, some of them kind of gross, to create effigies, which you can then take along on your travels to fill with knowledge. Once they're full up, you can crack them open to reveal an XP boosting reward. So how does this work? Gathering materials. Before you can get started, Carapac's lab needs a bit of spring cleaning. While you're working on the different nodes, you'll gather 4 essential materials, and as a bonus, you'll get some XP for your efforts. Each node provides material and XP for a different skill. Scrap metal for smithing, knickknacks for invention, anima nuggets for rune crafting, and dragon flesh for crafting. There are 12 nodes in total. Each one randomly cycles between one of the 4 materials and a blank slate, so you'll have to carefully pick the right one for the material you're after. Luckily, there's more than enough for everyone in the lab to work on the same nodes at once. There's also the chance that your rummaging will awaken an effigy remnant, a burst of pure energy left over from the creation process. If you can get it to sit still, you'll be able to harvest XP and materials from it at a much higher rate. Lastly, you'll need an effigy casing, which you can grab from the node at the center of the room. Effigy creation. Once you've gathered your materials, you can make your way over to the workbench where you'll get to try your hand at shaping an effigy. You'll need 20 of any material to take on this particular craft project, but at the end you'll be left with your very own uncharged effigy. Then it's finally time to fire up the incubator. Your mysterious assistant will call the shots here, just follow their instructions and you'll have the machine up and running in no time. Depending on the material you collected, you'll get one of the following effigies. An explosive effigy from 20 scrap metal and 85 smithing, an unstable effigy which requires 20 knickknacks and 85 smithing, an erratic effigy, 20 anima nuggets and 85 rune crafting, or a volatile effigy with 20 dragon flesh at 85 crafting. Creating and incubating effigies will net you a nice bundle of XP in the appropriate skill, and when you're done, all that's left is to take your new little buddy onto and into the world, using effigies. Effigies crave just one thing: knowledge. As you make your way around the world, your effigy will watch and learn as you train specific skills. Once they've absorbed a hefty 60,000 XP, they'll become full. You can see which effigies prefer which skills in the tab below. Explosive effigies will learn from cooking, fishing, mining, and woodcutting. Unstable learn from divination, farming, hunter, and runecrafting. Erratic learn from divination, farming, hunter, and runecrafting. And volatile learn from cooking, fishing, mining, and woodcutting. It'll take a while to fully charge your effigy with XP, but once you're done, you can crack it open to see what's inside. Explosive and unstable effigies will leave you with an effigy bonus XP star, which has the chance to be upgraded to a dragonkin star. Erratic and volatile effigies contain effigy XP lamps, which have the chance to be upgraded to a dragonkin lamp. Interactions. Effigies cannot be bought, sold, or traded to players in any way. They can't be alchemized either. The good news is that they do work with the Brooch of the Gods, just like urns do. Further research. You'll be able to create new effigies once a month when your assistant gets the incubator up and running. It's only available for a limited amount of time, so you'll need to make as many effigies as you can while you've got the chance. If you come back to the lab while the incubator is down, you can still collect extra materials to trade for incubator points, which you can spend on up to 10 ready-made effigies. Lastly, you'll want to check back in at least once a month to keep up with your assistant's research. Carapac and his fellow Dragonkin have had more than one top secret project up their sleeves, and the more time you spend in the lab, the more you'll learn. This is released on September 14th. So yeah, comes out tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little mini burst of Runescape Weekly. I'd like to bring it back. If you're a former co-host or an aspiring co-host, get in contact with me. We'll try to bring things back. I'm curious to know if people want solo shows. I'm curious to know how much people hate the politics. I don't know. I will include a timestamp as to when you can skip to the actual RuneScape content, but it may be the only way that I can actually start myself into a recording session. I don't know. We'll see. And again, thank you for listening, and as always, happy scaping.